Alrighty guys, welcome one and all. We're going to be starting a new playthrough of Paths of Glory, which you've done here on our channel probably 5 times. And we've always run into the same problem. Where we're playing with the board game, and then after a week we try to move the board game off our table and store it someplace so we can bring it back later. The game ends up getting destroyed. I get frustrated. I put it away, and then I start over again. So, here's what we're going to do. I think we're going to be using a combination. This is super combination. So we're going to be using the cards and dice from the actual game. But we're going to be keeping track of everything on Vassal. We're going to be moving the pieces on Vassal. We're going to be adjusting everything on Vassal. The only thing we're not going to use Vassal for is the cards and dice. And this way I can save it and pick it up again later on. So hopefully with that, we'll have a combination that'll work for us where we can play a little bit, put it away, come back to it, save it, put it away. You know, if we play maybe once a week or whatever for the next couple weeks, which I couldn't normally do with having the game set up, moving it and storing it, moving it back to the table, just trying to carry the map board and not have all the pieces moving around when you're trying to. And there's, the map boards, you're trying to hold them flat and they just buckle one way or the other. It's just not a doable thing. So we're going to be using Vassal for the pieces and the map. We're going to be using our cards because we're also going to be using the card CDG solo system, which was version 1, which has the Paths of Glory, Command and Color Ancients, Command and Color Samurai Battles, Washington's War, Caesar, Rome vs. Gaul, and For the People. I'm actually trying to get these 2 games because I know these are on the P500 and they passed the P500, but I'm not sure when they're going to get reprinted. And I'd like to try these games. It's been a long time. I don't think I've ever played Washington's War, and it's probably been 20 years since I played For the People. So I wanted to pick those games up, so maybe we can get that. Anyways, are we using the CDG solo system? So we're going to be using that. And this way, we can use the cards that we're going to have set up. So, hey Eric, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for coming by. Hopefully you can hear me and everything, the volume and everything sounds okay for you. Let me know in the chat if you do hear my voice. That'd be awesome to know. So we're going to be playing as the Central Powers, and we're going to be playing the introductory scenario. So the difference in the introductory scenario is you play basically 3 turns, and you don't upgrade your war status. So you don't get the new cards entered in the deck. It's an introductory system. It's an introductory. So you're just going to be playing with the base mobilization cards. You don't have to worry about upgrading your war status power because you don't upgrade. And then at the end of turn 3, if the Central Powers have 14 or more victory points, they win. If there's 11 to 13 victory points, then it's a draw. And if it's 10 or less, then the allied player wins. So I figured this would be good because I don't want to get involved in too long a scenario with this. And I want to see how this format works with Vassal and using the CDG solo system and using the cards and dice. Obviously, I can keep the cards and dice, and keep those separate. Pretty easy. It's the map board and things that were always the problem. So if anyone has any thoughts, questions, comments, suggestions, if you have something that you might think might work better, that is great. The problem was, like I said in the intro, we've done this like 5 times on my channel because I love Path of Glory. I probably played Path of Glory 30 times, but I think I've only made it past like turn 3 once because either I'm playing face to face, and after a while, after 3 or 4 hours, both players are about done. Anyways, it's a long game. It is not a short game, no matter what they try to tell you. It's a very long game, and it's a brain burner. So after a few hours, your brain starts to melt. So I don't think I've made it past turn like 3, maybe 1 time in all the times that I played it because, like I said, we've had it on our channel. We play a turn or 2 and then try to store the game, and that doesn't work. So for whatever reason, I will say that I'm not a Path of Glory expert, sort of saying. I'm an expert on like the first 2 or 3 turns. I'm an expert at that because I've seen everything. I've tried everything in the first couple turns. But like, I don't even know if I've ever been in a game where Turkey has joined the war or Italy has joined the war. I think I've been in one game that lasted into the mid-war part of it. I remember one game a long, long time ago. But so I wanted to try the short scenario or the introductory scenario again. So this way I can try this format, see how it works, keeping track of the cards, using the card-driven system, using Vassal to keep track of everything. And if it goes great, then I know that Pursuit of Glory over at GMT is coming out, being reprinted very soon, if I can figure out which page I saved this at. There we go. So we got the CDG Solo System 2 over at GMT. And you can see several of the cool things that they're adding in the CDG Solo System 2 is Pursuit of Glory and World War II Barbarossa to Berlin, which are 2 very similar games, obviously, to Paths of Glory. I love both of those games. So obviously I have the CDG Solo System 2 coming, of course. And so I'm excited to maybe sit down with Pursuit of Glory if this mode works really well with the combination that's going on. Then maybe when Pursuit of Glory gets here, then maybe we can do like maybe a bigger scenario with that. So that's where we're standing. What I'm probably going to try to do is do like a couple cards, a couple draws, every couple days or so. I've got several things scheduled. Tuesday night, which is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock here on the channel. The War Room is going to be playing the Plum Island Horror with Herman Lutman. And that is, of course, a world premiere, never before seen. The Plum Island Horror right here on the channel tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And then on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, me and Lower Slower Board Gamer are going to be doing Mr. President again. I know we started one with Rough Swordsman a couple weeks ago. It's just too hard to get our schedules to align, and so I'm just decided to go ahead and just start a new Mr. President with just myself and Lower Sword Board Gamer, just for scheduling purposes. Not that we're trying to keep Ruff from playing. It's just, it's hard for his schedule. The only time Ruff can really do it is on the weekends, obviously, because it's the time difference. But the problem is Lower Sword Board Gamer is in a D&D club, and he also, has to take care of some family members, and so he doesn't have a lot of free time on the weekends to play. So it's just hard for us to all schedule at the same time. So we're going to just start another Mr. President with the two of us, which is, both on Eastern Standard Time, and we can, do it during the evening hours, and it's not too obtrusive to either one of us. So that's where we kind of stand with everything. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, here on the channel, Plum Island Horror world premiere with Herman, and then, of course, Wednesday. This is, of course, if you're watching later on YouTube, this is August 8th at 7 o'clock is the Plum Island Horror with Herman. And then August 9th, Wednesday, at 7 o'clock is Mr. President with Lower Slower Board Gamer. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's see what we can do here. So, first things first is we are setting up all the mobilization cards for the allied player. So we have all of his cards. We are playing with the oops, you're over here. Your camera's over here, aren't you? Yes, here. We're just going to throw in the optional cards. Why not? Maybe we should. Maybe we shouldn't. I don't know. But we're going to keep these in there, the optional cards. So there we go. So what we do here, I believe, is we are going to shuffle these up. And then we're going to place one in A, one B, one D, and one in E. The deck goes on C. And then we flip up A and B, I believe is what we do. So he has Russian reinforcements and Russian reinforcements. Of course, on the June, how about not the June, the August 2014, are you kidding me? 1914 turn, you can't play reinforcements at all. So he's not going to be able to play either one of these events if the die says to choose these events. But we'll get to that here in a second. All right. So the maximum hand size is 7, but as you know, each side only plays 6 cards. There is an optional rule where you play with 8 cards and each side plays a 7. But we are not playing with that optional rule. Then I am going to choose to start with the Guns of August card in my hand. Doesn't mean I have to play it. I just have to announce that I am either taking this card in my hand or not. And then I'm going to be choosing 6 more cards. As you can see, we are shuffling up so there's no shenanigans going on here. Alright, and we'll take 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright. And of course, if I roll a die, hopefully we can do that without knocking all the things off. We should be able to see the die up in the corner there. Okay. So let me see what we got for cards. Oh, yeah. Alright, where's my, there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright. So, got my cards. Let's go to the battlefield. I'm going to move this out of the way. Move this out of the way. Alright, so that is the battlefield. Again, I've got these super wide monitors, which is great for running Vassal. Here's what I will say. I've talked about this a little bit on a couple of my videos. For those of you who don't know, I just, at the beginning of July, I got a brand new computer and replaced both of my monitors as well. And I'm telling you what, I didn't know how much of a difference it was going to make. And especially with Vassal. I had some decent normal size monitors, but I decided to go with these 34-inch super wide semi-curved gaming monitors from Dell, and they were about $375 on sale at the time. And I was like, do I want to spend the $700 on 2 monitors, or is it worth it? And so I finally decided to go ahead and do it. I didn't order them with the computer. I ordered the computer separately, and I thought about it for a while, and I was kind of hem-hawed back and forth. Do I want to get monitors? Do I not? My monitors are okay. They're not the best, but they're okay, blah, blah, blah. And I finally decided to do it. And I'm telling you, with the super wide aspect with Vassal, it makes playing the Vassal games so much better. Because normally, if I switch back to my screen without the super wide monitors, right? You're looking at, like, see, it's hard to really show you guys, but you would only see maybe over to like this part of the map. You get all this, and then you get like that. But having that extra wide part means that I don't need to scroll left and right as much, back and forth, right? And which can be super important. Right? I don't need to scroll back and forth as much because I can see a lot wider on the screen. So what am I saying? Just spit it out, Chester. What are you trying to say? What I'm saying is, if you can afford a couple decent monitors, and if you can, and you just haven't been that thrilled with playing online or playing with Vassal or anything like that, try Vassal again if you do upgrade your monitors, especially if you get widescreen monitors. If you get the wide ones and you can see a lot more, you can see how much I can see on my screen compared to normal. And it just makes a world of difference. You see so much more on the screen. I can see all the way from France all the way over to, way into Russia here. Over into Romania, right? So I don't need to slide back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I'll have to do a little bit, but I won't have to do it as much, and that makes a big difference when you're playing games like this. And of course, I am zoomed. As you can see, I'm zoomed way in, right? Normally, you would be zoomed way out so you can see more of the map, right? But because I've got the widescreen monitors, I can zoom way in, and I still don't lose much of the map. And now I've got all the counters that are really big. I got the nice looking map. It makes it look so much better. I'm just saying. If you can afford a couple decent monitors, it might be worth your investment. It has been for me anyways. All right. So we're getting ready to go here. And of course, if you're not familiar, what's up, Hissy Cat? If you're not familiar, I'm going to explain a few things as we go along, but I'm not going to be teaching the whole game. It would be just way too long to teach the whole game. But one of the most important things is, and again, we're not going to be using the cards in the game. We're going to be using cards. We're going to be using the CDG solo system for the bot. We're going to be using our own cards. We're going to be using our own dice to roll everything. The only thing we're using in Vassal, obviously, is the map and the counters. So it's a nice little combination thing we got going on here, I think. All right. So those of you who are not familiar with Passagori, the most important thing is the very first card play. You can see this card here, Guns of August, where you can't see because I'm on the wrong screen. There you go. I'm going to show it to you anyways. All right. It's a mobilization card. Obviously, both players have all their mobilization cards. This has a big asterisk on it. May only be played in the first action round of the August 1914 turn. So you either play this as your very first card, or you will never get to play this card as the event. You can still use the card for other things. You can still use it for replacement points. You can still use it for strategic redeployment. You can still use it for its op points. You can still use it for other purposes. You can just never use this card for its event unless you play it very, very, very first. And I've decided to, yes, we are going to play this card as our first action of the game, which I would say 60 to 70% of players do choose to, and from my understanding anyways, play this as the first card of the game, because it's a very powerful card. It can get you off into a great lead. Now, all right, so you will notice that this card here, let's see if we can drag this card up here so I don't need to keep going back and forth. I can do that. Great. All right, so the Guns of August has a big asterisk, which means once it's played, it's removed from the game. It also has this little 2 afterwards. Now, we are playing the introductory scenario, and I've told you guys this, right? Where you don't need to keep track of your war status because you're not going to get any more cards. Your war status does not increase in the introductory scenario. But for you people who are learning the game, I'm going to show you how you would normally do this. Obviously, it's very simple. The Germans' war status is going to go up 2 points. So you can see here, the Central Powers' war status is up to on the 2 track. And the combined war status goes up to 2. So in a normal game, once you get up to 4 points, then you add your limited war cards to your deck. And once you get up to 11, then you add your total war cards. We're not going to be adding any cards in this scenario, but you should know how to do this anyways. Okay, so with all that said and done, we now got to play this event out, which I'm going to drag it up here. And let's go through it. What happens? So we ignore everything on it. We ignore the ops numbers, the strategic redeployment numbers. We ignore the reinforcement numbers. All we care about is the event. It says the Liege fort is destroyed. So these spaces with these funky hexagonal triangle looking things are all forts. And they have special rules on forts in the game. Well, our fort, we have destroyed the fort. So we're going to find a destroyed marker and we're going to put it on there. So that fort has been destroyed. With the fort being destroyed, and the only time you can enter a space is once the fort is destroyed, we're going to place the German first armies and the second armies in the lead space. So basically, in reality, what had happened, the first army and the second army took out the Fort Liege historically, and then we've activated these spaces for combat. So the German first, second, and third armies are activated for combat. So we should have there should be markers for this stuff somewhere on the map, maybe. Probably somewhere. I'm thinking, where are they? I'm not seeing them anywhere. Control markers, great. Out of supply markers, blank. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Why they don't have the... They should be markers that show you spaces you activate for movement and or spaces you activate for combat. Which I'm thinking might be on the map somewhere, because they're so important to the game. I just can't believe they wouldn't have them somewhere on the board somewhere. Oh, maybe with Vassal you right click. Oh, there we go. We just right click, attack. There we go. And right click attack. So those two spaces have been activated to attack. which happened to be the 1st and 2nd Army here, and the 3rd Army. And we're going to get to that in just a second because we completely forgot, not that I forgot, but the first thing you always do before you can even start anything is actually you got to roll for your Allied mandated offensive table. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll this information here on my other screen, and we'll see what the Allies roll. They roll a 4. So Italy, as you can see, Allied mandate would be a 4 to 5. But Italy, as you can see, is currently a neutral country. So that's not going to come into play. So I think it slides to the right. Or does it slide to the left? I don't know. Let's look it up real quick, because it's kind of an important rule. We should probably know if it slides left or right. Mandatory offenses is going to be section 7 of your rule book. Come on now, where is it? The result is alright, that's not helpful at all. I think it goes. If the result is none or a currently neutral nation, there is no effect. Okay, so yeah, actually it goes to none because Italy is neutral right now. So it's going to go to no. They don't have to attack anybody. All right, for the German or the Central Powers is going to be a 5. 5 is none as well. So we didn't really miss out on anything, did we? Because okay, isn't that always the way? You forget about doing something, and you go back and do it, and it's like, oh, it didn't make any difference anyways. Okay. All right, so with that said, we can move back to our other map and see what we're doing. Okay, so we played this card for the event. We've set it up. We've destroyed the fort. We've moved those 2 units. Those 2 spaces are ready to attack. Obviously, you can only attack somebody that's connected to your space. So this is where... this is why this is such a great, awesome game, is because the very first thing you have to do, you have to think about, right? You have to think, do I want to use this very powerful card for a very good event, or do I want to keep this card in my deck and use its nice resources throughout the rest of the game? So that's a tough decision right off the bat. And then the second tough decision is, okay, if I use this event, I now have to decide what I'm doing with my attack, because you have 2 things you would like to do with this attack, but obviously you can only do one of them. So the first thing you can do, let's talk about the 2 choices, is you can try a flank attack, because both the Liege space and the Koblitz space both connects to Sedan, where the French Fifth Army sits waiting. We can actually have the Ligne space attack and then the Koblitz space flank attack them to try and attack them and do damage to them before they have a chance to retaliate. So in Paths of Glory, when you attack, both sides attack and defend at the same time. If you do a flank attack and you're successful in the flank attack, you do your damage before the enemy is able to attack you back. So you can severely wound the enemy beforehand. So that is option number one, is you can try this flank attack and try to basically destroy the Fifth Army and have it severely wounded, damaged. We'll get to that in a little bit, and possibly even retreating out of the way, where then you can move in to Sedan, and you've now broken a hole in the French line. So that is option number one. Option number two is you can still attack with Koblitz to the Fifth Army, but not flank attack, just a normal German army versus French army. And then the other attack you can do is the First and Second Army in the Ligne space can attack the BEF, the British Expeditionary Force that's sitting there in Brussels. You can attack them. Now, the important part of this one is the BEF, the British Expeditionary Force. If you look at the counter, it has got a little star on the right-hand side, or a little circle. That means that this unit cannot be replaced. It can't get replacements. So if you can damage it as the Germans, you can remove it, and the Allied player can't replenish the losses on this unit. So you'd obviously like to do both of these. You'd like to break a hole in the wall and get a nice flank attack, and you'd like to damage the BEF and get that sucker out of there, because it's a very powerful British unit sitting there waiting to counter all your moves. Obviously, it's in a fort, which is a trench. In a trench. It's in a trench, which can be a little problem. And you can see the British, the numbers on each of the units. Well, if we look at the BEF, the 5 is its firepower factor, 3 is its loss factors, and then the last 3 on the right is the movement factors. So you go attack factors, loss factors, and the movement factors. So you can see the British Expedition Force is a 5 for an attack, while the Frenchies are only 3 on their armies. So this is a much more powerful and dangerous unit that we would severely like to limit. But with all that said, with all that rambling going on here, I think I'm going to go ahead and try the flank attack. Now, this is where the whole game can come crumbling down as the Central Powers. And I'm going to go ahead and move this back to where it belongs, over here, because the flank attack is a risk. The flank attack is a risk. When you declare a flank attack, you get a flank attack if you roll a 4, a 5, or a 6 on a 6-sided dice. But you also get a +1 to your dice roll for every unit that is attacking the enemy that is not adjacent to an enemy unit. So what does all that mean, Jester? Good question. So the units here in Liege, right, the ones that I've just highlighted in yellow, are basically our attacking force. They're our pinning force. And the unit here in Koblitz is our flanking squad. You can see this unit is not adjacent to any other enemy unit. So because of that, it'll give us a +1 to the dice roll. If it was the other way around, if this was our attacking force in Koblitz, and then our flanking units were the ones in Liege. Well, the units in Liege are adjacent to enemy units, so they would not provide us a +1 bonus to this dice roll. So basically, you got a 66% chance of success and a 33% chance of failure, and this could ruin everything, because if the French, if you fail your flank attack, the French will get to hit you first, which means you will not probably be able to do much damage to them in return. So it is a risk, but I'm willing to make that risk to show you guys what happens. So here we go. So the German, we're going to use the nice gray German dice. Again, 4, 5, or 6, but we get a +1 because of our unit that's not adjacent to any other enemies other than the one that's attacking. So this is, I think this is what they call the pinning unit. This is the pinning unit, and then this is the flanking unit, I think is what they call them. So the pinning unit, you have to declare this. This is going to be our pinning unit, and then this will be the flanking unit, I think is the way they call it. So we need, since we are playing the Central Powers, we would love to see a 3, 4, 5, or 6, because all of these would be successful. A 1 or 2 would make me cry. Don't make me cry this early in the game. I don't want to cry. Not in front of everybody. 4. Whew, okay. All right, so they have passed their flank attack. So, with that said, now comes combat. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the actual charts. There are 2 different tables. There's a corpse table, and there's an army table. And what this means is these little squares. Let's see if I can show you guys here. So if we look at, say, Open here, where I just highlighted in yellow, that is a smaller counter. That is a core. And then you have the bigger counters, which are the armies. If you are attacking with any attack, and you have at least 1 army in it, you get to use the army table. If you do not have an army in it, you don't get to use the army table. You have to use the core table, which means you're attacking with all cores, which are the smaller, more fragile units. Okay. So, because we're attacking with armies, we get to roll on the army table. Now, what we do is we add up our attack factors, which are going to be 5 for this German army, 5 for this German army, and 5 for this German army. As 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15. Every time I check, it's 15. Correct? Correct. All right. Now, there are some modifiers that may come into play if they're using, depending on the terrain type. If they have any combat cards they want to play, which if you notice there are certain combat cards which will have CC on them. That means during a combat, you can play this card during a combat. In this case, a German unit attacking a Russian unit would add +1 die roll modifier. Obviously, this is not against a Russian unit, so I can't use this card. But there are a variety of different things that might adjust it. Otherwise, we're on the 15 column, and we might move up or down factors. Let's see if it gives us any. And it even tells you right here on the table, if any firing units or armies, you get to use this table. And you can see the big difference. A lot of big numbers here, not a lot of big numbers over here. So you can see we're on the 15 column. Okay, if we were in the mount, let's see what he is in. The unit is actually in the forest there. So the forest means combat effect of nothing. But he does have the option to cancel a retreat. And if you advance into it, you must stop. And is there a flank attack allowed into this space? And you can see the answer is yes. So there are certain spaces you cannot flank attack into. Swamp, you cannot flank attack into swamp, or a mountain hex, or into a level 1 trench, or a level 2 trench. So no trenches, no swamps and mountains, so you couldn't flank attack into those anyways. Fortunately for us, he doesn't have any of that. So we're on the 15 column. And now what we're going to do is we're going to roll a die. We would like to see a decent number. Like 3 or higher would be nice. 6 would be great, but all right, 5 is great. 5 is great. So we're on the 15 column. We're down to the 5, and you can see we got a 7. So 7 lost factors. So the French army has to supply with me as close to 7 loss factors as he can from his unit. So you can see this army here, again, loss factors is the number in the middle, is 3. So if he takes 3 from 7, right, we flip this unit over, and we've reduced the attack from 7 down to 4. So he still owes me 4 loss factors. You can see on the back side, he has a 2 attack, 3 loss factors, and 3 movements. So he can supply with me again another 3 loss factors. And we can remove this army. Now whenever you remove an army, you're going to replace it with, you guessed it, a core. And all the cores are the same. So it doesn't matter which one we grab. It's not like there's a specific one for the French anyways. And so this army goes into the eliminated box. Where is it? Down here. Okay, down here. Got it. I just have to remember where all the boxes and everything are. It's been so long since I played. So, again, the army had... oh, you guys can't see any of this that I just showed you. Sorry. Let's go through that one more time. Because I didn't really show you. I'm just going to pull this aside for right this second. Thank you. All right, so boop. Let's flip it back over. All right, so we did the attack. We have 7 loss factors. The German 5th Army, his loss factors is 3, so he can subtract 7 from his loss factors. Or he has to supply me with 7 loss factors as close to it he can. So he will flip over and reduce that number by 3, his loss factors. So 7 minus 3 is 4, so he still owes me 4 loss factors. So he can lose the army and deduct another 3. And so he's deducted 6 loss factors of the 7. He still owes me 1 loss factor. So this core will get flipped over. Wow. So that is all 7. And so what you have to do is you have to try and supply those as best you can. If you have to reduce units, you have to reduce units, but you have to get to as close to the loss factors as you can. Now here's the interesting part. He's going to be firing the core table on the 1 core table because he only has 1 firepower now, and he's not an army anymore. He's just a core. That's why we wanted to do the flank attack. So he's on this core table. He's on the 1 column. So no matter what he does, the most he's going to roll is a 1 for loss factors. Okay? And if we look back at our units here, you can see the Germans, all the armies, have a loss factor of 3. So you don't ever have to supply more than the damage that your opponent did. And this is where the brilliance of one of the brilliant things in this game that come into play is this core is going to attack us back, but it can't do enough damage to even hurt any of these armies because we all have a loss factor of 3, a loss factor of 3, a loss factor of 3. He can only do 1 damage. So there's no way for us to take 1 loss without flipping a unit over, and in that case it would be too much of a loss. So we can ignore that 1 loss damage. Now the difference would be, let's say this core that's up here in Bremen was part of this attack here, right? If this core was part of the attack, now the Frenchies attack back and they do 1 point of damage. Now this German core could take the 1 loss factor and get eliminated. And so that would be like a core that takes the damage. And that's kind of, again, another brilliant part of this game is it's normally you just, as in a normal war game, you want as much firepower in every hex as you can so you can damage your opponent the most you can. And that's typical wargaming, right? I'm going to get the highest attack value I can. I want to try and do the most damage I can do to you. Well, in this game, not so fast, my friend, because, again, if I put that core in there, it's only going to add 1 firepower, and now when the French fire back, they might be able to actually do some damage to me by having those extra units in there. So this game is all about figuring out what kind of attack you're going to try to do and how you're going to do it and the best way to manage that attack. If that makes somewhat of a sense, we can bring this down to the, whoops, not there, dummy, here. Oh yes, the other thing we should have done was, we did it, there we go. We added our first action in ops card. There we go. No, we did other event is what we did. I think is what yeah, I'm pretty sure we did not do ops. And the reason you want to do this when you do your 6 actions is because you can't do the same action played consecutively. So you can't do a strategic redeployment and then a replacement points. You can also not activate more than 1 allied country each turn. So there's reasons why you want to do this. So that is the Germans' attack. Oh, by the way, they have to retreat, by the way. They can retreat. They're going to have to retreat 2 steps. There's nothing on here, but I think they have to retreat 2 steps. Actually, so what are they going to do? So retreating in this game is very, very open-ended. So you can go like 1, 2. You can go 1, 2. However you want to retreat, you just have to move away. You can go 1, 2. You just cannot end up back where you started. So I couldn't go like 1, 2. That doesn't work, obviously. So the red squares, for those of you who don't know, are victory point hexes. So I think he's going to retreat 1, 2, and go into that victory point hex and kind of hang out. Now the Germans can advance after combat, and there's rules for this, but the most important rule is you can only advance full strength units well, in this case, all the German units are full strength. And I believe only armies can advance. So you couldn't advance any corps. And because we're advancing into a forest hex, the units must then stop. So you couldn't advance and then advance again, which you might be able to do sometimes. That's cool. This module actually as I move the units up, automatically put our spaces on there. That was awesome. Cool. This is a really good module. All right. I'm just going to move those out of the way. So that is, what do we got? 52 minutes, and we've taken one action. Awesome. That's about average. That's why this game takes forever, especially when you're explaining it to people and talking about it. And as passionate and as loving as I am with this game, I'm so excited about it that I love sharing it and talking about it to everyone. I think this is a great game. And I would highly recommend, if you don't have this game, to pick it up. Go to the GMT website right now and pick up a copy. They just re-released the deluxe version, which is awesome. Now, with all of that nonsense said, it's now the Allies' turn. So, as you can see, we've got the CDG solo system set up and ready to go here on the channel. So we have to decide what the central or what the allied powers are going to do. We have to roll this dice and see which cards we're going to check out and try to figure out which cards he's going to use. All right, he rolled, as you guys probably see, D and E. Well, D and E, we can't see D and E. Let's move this camera down. Oh, let's go down. D and E, there we D and E, there we go. All right. So let's see what his choices are going to be. Mobilization Severe Weather Combat card. Defending units in a mountain space in the fall, winter, or a swamp space in the spring or fall, get a +2 die roll modifier. This is a great combat card in certain situations, obviously. Or the second choice is Mobilization, the Rape of Belgium. May only be played if the central players played the Guns of August. May only be played as an event if the Allied war status is still at mobilization. You subtract a victory point. That is his two choices. So, let's see. Alright, he rolled the D and E. So we're going to flip any face down cards in the D and E slot. We're going to play card D or E for any allowable purposes. And we're going to fill that spot from the draw deck, maintaining facing. Okay? So, we have a choice of which one of these two cards. Is he going to play this event? Obviously, he can't play this as the event. And on the first turn... wait a minute. Wait a cotton picking minute. Let me think. Isn't the first turn... I'm trying to remember. Isn't the first turn special? Like you don't have as many actions? Or is it just one action before the end of the first turn? I forget what is the special rules on 1914 special rule. Neither player may play reinforcement cards. The CP unit may move through but not end their turn in Amiens, Calais, or Ostend until either the Race to the Sea event is played or the CP total war status is 4 or higher. They may not end or advance in these spaces, only if it was a defending space in the combat. German units may not attack spaces containing Russian forts until the Oberforst card is played or the CP status is 4 or higher. German units may, however, besiege unoccupied Russian forts. Austro-Hungary units are not restricted. Russian units may not attack or besiege a German fort on August 1914. All siege die rolls are modified by -2 on the August and September 1914 turns. Neither player's war commitment level is checked on the August 1914 turn and is never checked during the introductory scenario, which is what we're playing. Okay. Yeah, I gotta remember. I was thinking, is like the 1914 turn? Is there? Do you play all 6 cards? I guess you do. I'm thinking of another game. I got too many games on the brain. I guess I'm thinking. All right. Hey, Braun, how you doing? Good to see you. So we have to decide what the Allied player is going to do. What is he going to do? He can play the event, the Rape of Belgium. Which allow him to subtract 1 victory point. Which, might be good. So obviously this is a game about victory points, and lowering the victory point total would be good. But here's the other thing: you also don't want the Germans to take over a lot of victory point spaces either. So I think what the Allied player is going to do is they're going to play. I think what the Allied player is going to do is they're going to play this mobilization card, severe weather. Again, this is kind of very restricted event. You're probably not going to have much chance to play this. It's defending units in a mountain space in the fall or winter, or swamp spaces in spring or fall. So it's kind of a dead card. So it's got a low number. It's only worth 2 ups. So if you can get this out of your deck, you can strengthen your deck by getting rid of all your bad low cards. So he's going to play this for the operation points. Yes, he is. Boom, done. All right. And then this card is going to fill in that spot. And we can go here. So he's got 2 operation points. So I think again, the Allied player can do whatever he wants anywhere on the map. But I think what he wants to do is fill in this big hole that just appeared out of nowhere. So he is going to activate the 9th Army here to move. And the 6th Army to move. Yeah, I think so. All right. So just going to move that out of the way. I think the 6th Army is going to come up here to Cambrai and help solidify that. So it's 1, 2. Okay. And then this guy is going to move just 1 space there. Now, you can see the French actually put the German 3rd Army in a little bit of a pickle now. Because again, the Frenchies could try a flank attack. Because they could use this unit, they could activate this space as the pinning space. And then this unit is the flanking unit, because it's not adjacent to any other enemies. And this one also is not adjacent to any other enemies. And so they would have a +2 to their die roll against the flank attack against the 3rd Army. So, something to think about for the Germans, or the Central Powers. Okay. Everyone hanging in there with me? You with me? How many people are with me? Alright, so that is the allied player's turn. It is now our turn. How long have we gone? Are we going over time? Just over an hour. Let's play another card. Why don't we play another card? Do 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 do. Well, we can't play any reinforcement cards because obviously it's too early in the war to get reinforcements. So I think we are going to play. We're going to play this card here. German reinforcements mobilization for 3 operation points. Again, we ignore everything except for the 3. So this is actually out of the game. Out of the game because we used it. So I'm just going to put that in the other deck. There we go. And so we're going to use this for 3 operations. So when we use it for operation points, we don't remove this or anything like that. So it's just going to be 3 operation points. So do we? We could try a flank attack on the Brits. Flank attack on the Brits. No, we can't because they're in a trench. They have that trench, so you cannot do a flank attack. And the Brits will attack back on the army table. This is where it bogs down into a big slugfest in this 2 lines of hexes where it's like, I mean, we could try to attack there. We're going to try to attack here. You know what? I think what we are going to do is we are going to try to attack the Brits. We're going to attack. This has got 2 armies in it. I can't flank attack this guy because he's got a trench. Can't flank attack this guy because he's a trench. We can use our other ops over here, which I think we will. We're going to activate the 2nd army to move. So the Russians have a pretty good sized force here in the east that really outduels the Austro-Hungarians. And we have this little baby army back here. Actually, we're not, maybe we're not gonna. Obviously, the Russians could try to take this victory point hex if they. So I was thinking about moving this guy up there to prevent that from happening, but yeah, that's fine. We're going to move him up there. So he's got 3 moving points. 1, 2, boom, boom. So he's going to fill in the hole there to kind of keep the Ruskies from doing anything. And then these guys are going to attack the Brits here. And again, it can't be a flank attack because he's in a trench. We have 15 firepower. We don't have any cards or anything. I don't think we... No. So I think we're just attacking. So, again, sorry, you guys probably didn't see what I did. So let me undo. So this second army over here in Austro-Hungary, I spent it 1, 2. Oh, nope, should not have grabbed that guy. Just the army moved up to Limburg to kind of fill up the hole that's sitting there. I don't know if that's a good choice or not, because the Russians can try to break in down here through this core, but then we can kind of cut them off and put them out of supply. It's what they call the old dance of death in the East Front, is you're whirling and swirling and surrounding enemies to try and cut them out of supply. So Limburg it is. Back over here. We got these two units. 15 going after the Brits. I wonder, can I add in? Wonder if it'd be easier for me. Maybe this one? Nope. That's not what I wanted. There we go. So this way I don't need to keep switching back screens and having you guys miss a lot, because I'm too dumb to remember to switch it back. This is not CDG 2. This is the original card-driven game system. So it's a 15 attack by the Germans. On, obviously we're going on the BEF. We cannot. Let me make sure. 5, 10, 15. We cannot do a flank attack, so we're just going to do it straight up. Oh, we rolled a 1. That's not good. So we only did 4 loss factors to it. And now the Brits get to fire back on the 5 table. The Brits are firing back on the 5 table. They rolled a 5. And they also did 4 loss factors. So 4 loss factors to 4 loss factors. So that attack, see what the difference in these attacks are? Woo! Alright, so the Brits, they have to flip to supply 3 of those loss factors. And on their backside, again, is 3. So they only owe me 1. So they cannot supply that last 1. So they only flip over and they're done. Or the same thing is going to happen to the Germans in the fact that we are going to have to take a loss from one of our very valuable armies, because we can have to supply the 3 loss factors. We flip him over. We still have 3, 3, 3. We only owe him 1 loss factor, so we don't have to supply that last one. Again, if this core was down here, then we would have to supply that last one, because we do have a unit that could take that last. So the Germans and the Brits face off and end up pretty even in loss factors. The important thing is the BEF can't be replaced. So if we take losses, we can always replace our armies a lot easier than they can. Well, they can't at all. So that is our second card. What are they going to do? Let's roll the die and find out. They rolled a E with a little greater than symbol or less than symbol. What is that one? I don't know. Let's see. Okay, face-up event card are lowest face-up op cards. If there is only one or no face-up cards in the display, flip any one face card face-up until there are two face-up cards. There are three face-up cards. One here and two up here. Place any face-up event card or play the lowest valued face-up ops card. Play the lowest valued face-up ops card. So he has a 2, a 3, and a 4. For any allowable purpose. Well, he's going to be doing the 2 ops. He can't do the Russian reinforcements. So he's going to do the 2 ops. So, oh yeah, we forgot to mark what we did. We did the operations. Is that what we did? There's are going to be in ops. Okay, so they're going to play this card for the 2 operation points. Okay, and then this card is going to replace that one. And now we have to decide where he's going to put his 2 ops. I think the French are going to get bold. They're going to do a flank attack. They're going to attack from Verdun and from here, because this way they won't have any corps involved in the attack, so they're going to have to, yeah, we'll see. Can they flank it? Yes, they can flank it. All right, so they're going to try for a flank attack. So, here we go. They need, again, 3, 4, 5, or 6 for success. Otherwise, the Germans get to attack first on a 1 or 2. So if you're rooting for the Germans, you want a 1 or 2. Oh my gosh. It's a 2. Which means the flank attack fails. The Germans attack first. They do their damage. And then the French can attack. Ooh, this is going to make things very uncomfortable for the Frenchies. So the 5 value army rolled a 2. A 2 is 3 loss factors. So the French are going to take 3 loss factors right off the bat. And he's going to take the 3rd army, he's going to flip it over. So 3rd army is reduced. So now, that was all 3 of the factors. So, let's see what we got here. We have, hello, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the French are using 7 attack on the German. 7 attack. They rolled a 3 on the 7 column. Is 4 loss factors. So the German army is going to flip. So the Germans lost 4. The French only lost 3. So the Germans actually have to retreat 1 space. So when they retreat that space, only full strength units can move in. So you can see this guy is already spent. This guy's already spent, but this guy underneath here isn't. He could move in there and take over that space again. But then it would leave Verdun. I think he is going to do it though. Because this guy's got a he has a trench to help him. So the Germans went in, started advancing, and now the French have fought back and knocked them right back to where they started from. And, of course, both armies have just whittled themselves down. So that was a second operation. And there you go. So that is the first couple cards and some overview of what we're doing here. Let's save this. We're going to call this turn 1, card 3. So we're doing turn 1. Let's call this Path of Glory. Turn 1, card 3 coming up. There we go. All right. So we got a little bit there. All right, guys. So little thing going on with the Paths of Glory, and it's one of these games that could take you 25 hours to play, depending on how fast you play. Obviously, if you're sitting down with the board game and you're playing with somebody, it'd probably go a little bit faster, but it's not a quick game by any stretch. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock p.m., right here on the channel, 7 o'clock, the War Room is going to play the Plum Island Horror for the first time, live, world premiere. If you want to see Plum Island Horror, you want to see how it plays, you want to see what it looks like, you want to hear from the designer, be here tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And then Wednesday, 2 nights from now, Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m., myself and Lower's Lord Board Gamer are going to be playing Mr. President, starting a brand new presidency. And we're going to start it from scratch, just the two of us, and we're going to go through that Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So be here for that as well. We'll need to watch this later. Hey, Tony, how you doing? Yeah, so don't forget, tomorrow night at 7, Wednesday at 7, and then we'll try to get this back on the channel later this week. But there you go. We got Vassal. We got the CDG solo system. We got real cards and dice. We have every combination you can think of to try and make this work for us. So we're giving it a whirl, and we'll see how it goes. So thanks, everyone, for coming out tonight. We do appreciate it. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this, leave us a like. If you want to see more content, leave us a comment down below, and we'll see everyone tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Thanks so much.